Well, I think that's pretty good. It's about 4 o'clock, so I guess we might as well get started. Just getting my microphone all positioned here. I got my water. How you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing good. I've been running around like a crazy person today, and we're already recording this, so I tell you what, the school that my kids go to, I don't know, they coerced me into becoming a board of director. Go figure. And so I was over there at the school and just helping out. Oh, wanted to say hi to everyone. Please forgive the way that I look, though. I definitely am not dressed in, there I am. Hello. Hi, everyone. How you guys doing? I'm not dressed in seminar and training specific clothes. This is a simple Aloha shirt that I have on, and a little bit of the scruffy going on. Not too well shaven, that's for sure. Today's an off shaving day, and that's the way it goes. But anyway, just so that we don't lose our internet connection, our bandwidth, then I'm going to shut the video down. The really cool thing is that, you know, pretty soon, oh, and thank you, Julia. You're so sweet. Julia just posted on a question. You look great. Well, thank you. It's been a long day, Julia, so you're being really nice. Oh, I just got back from Merry Monarch, and as a hula halau, that's hula is the dance, and halau is school, and you know, we went over to what's the Olympics of hula festivals, and the person that I take hula from, his name is Atua. He entered, and I got to drum. What an amazing experience. I mean, it literally is the equivalent of getting to go to the Olympics. And I'm so proud of how the girls did, and so just absolutely amazed at the dedication that it takes to do something at that level. No, I can't claim that I'm an Olympic athlete or anything. To have drummed, though, and chanted on the stage at the Merry Monarch Hula Festival, anyone in the hula community around the world, for me to be able to say that, even I did it once, and that's just absolutely amazing, because it can be a dream for some people. And it was a week straight of like 2 hours of sleep, so I think I've been back now for 4 or 5 days. I think I finally caught up, and you know, I've been looking forward to this webinar because it's going to help us to finish up the last one that we did. And you know, we did a webinar on Huna and energy, and we began it by talking about the whole idea of being, doing, and having. Mary, you said the volume is low. I happen to be able to see that, so let me just get a little bit closer to the microphone. Is that better? I hope that's a little bit better. Or here, let me quit out of the slides and just double check that I have the webinar. The webinar settings for the volume are good. No, you might Mary, you might want to check the volume on your computer. Maybe you can turn it up a little bit, and I will speak a little bit closer to the microphone, but I don't want to get too close, because what that can do is it can cause the microphone to give a little bit of crazy feedback. So I'm going to avoid doing that. But anyway, I hope that it sounds a little bit better, and we are recording it. We're recording it, so you can always go back and check to see anything that you missed out. So here we go. I just got back from the Merry Monarch Hula Festival, and I was talking about that a little bit. I thought it would be a nice place to start, because in life you have to be able to tap into your energy. In life you have to be able to bring a level of energy to what you're doing so that you can get the absolute best results possible. And I think that's true with almost everything that you do. With everything that you do, you need to be able to absolutely bring in a level of intensity and congruency in your life. And what that comes from is your ability to tap into energy. Your ability to tap into energy is also related to whether or not you have your purpose. Purpose is so important. And I want to do a quick review of where we began the webinar. So this is the webinar that we started. This was, when did we be? I don't even remember when we did this at this point. So neat. I think when did we do this? End of March, about 2 weeks ago. before I went to Mary Monarch, and I want to begin with a quick review. I also want to remind you that if you didn't get to watch the first part, that you do want to email the office. And let me put up the email address for you. Let me put up all of this information for you. Love to remind you guys that we're on Facebook. If you're not following us on Facebook, that's our fan page. That's our company page, facebook.com/empowerment partnership. My personal page is facebook.com/Dr. Matt James. If you go there and you're able to then follow me, and that will give you updates as to when we're doing our next webinar, what it's all about, and fun little stuff. That's my personal site. I handle that one myself, so that's just me. And email, you want to email drmatt@nlp.com. If you didn't get to listen to the first webinar, I'm going to do a brief overview, but I'm going to keep it really simple because I spent a lot of time on this. And you're going to want to go back and watch that one because it lays the foundation for what we're talking about in this webinar. So you definitely want to take some time to go back and look at that if you can, and that will fill in some blanks for you. So let's get started right away. Here's what we're covering. We're picking up where we left off. We started off talking about energy and you. We started talking about the 3 basic energies, about finding purpose. That's where we're going to begin because we left off with the 3 basic energies. And then talking about how to get unstuck and then getting the energy to flow. And getting the energy to flow is that ability to spend a week at a hula festival where you're only getting 2 hours of sleep a night and yet you're still operating at 100% capacity. Now, can you do that forever? Oh, no, no, no. When I got back, I crashed, man. I passed out. Doesn't matter, you teach NLP, you teach Huna. Going for a week of only 2 hours of sleep, my body likes a little bit more sleep than that. I think Sunday night I slept 13 hours, and that's very unusual for me. And that's about twice as much as I usually get, and my body needed it. That's energy, though. Your ability to tap into that energy and in the moment direct it. That's something that I want to talk about because a lot of people ask me all the time, how do you have the energy to do what you do? People ask me that. You know, I go to trainings or they see some of my students who have been around for a while and they ask them, how do you have so much energy? And the answer comes from not only the connection to the mana, as we teach it, mana is the Hawaiian word for energy. It's because the people who have an unlimited supply of energy are usually tapping into their purpose. They are usually tapping into their purpose, their ability to flow the energy, and they're tapping into a greater reason of why they're doing what they're doing. And so I want to give you a simple formula as to how to do that. I always love to begin any talk on Huna with the idea of Aohe pau koike ko halau, which means think not that all wisdom is in your school. I want you guys to keep in mind that I'm only sharing with you things that I learned, things that I've learned along the path, and things that have really helped me. And you know what, for me, I sometimes hear people when they've gone to a training and they get done with that training and they say, oh yeah, but I learned it differently. And rather than being able to absorb the information, what they do is they shut themselves off. And I practice this. I practice this because I do my best every year to go to an event, to go to something and sit there as a student. And I leave my knowledge at the door and I learn what they have to share. In the same field, people will use different labels, different names. And you're not going to learn anything if you go in with a comparison. So what I want to share with you are some basic ideas or concepts with regards to energy that for some of you it will sound familiar. For other people, maybe this will be the first time you heard it. And for a few of you, maybe you've heard this from someone else and they use different terms. So please recognize that I know that there are so many different ways of teaching this, and I respect all of them. All I can do, the Hawaiian word is mana'o. All I can share is my mana'o, my thinking about this idea, this concept. So having reminded you of that, let's jump right into what we were talking about last time. And what we're talking about here is Huna. So briefly, remember, Huna, the word Huna means deeper wisdom, concealed wisdom. But before Huna was called Huna, it was called Ho'omanna. Ho'o means to make. Mana means life force energy. Taken together, Huna means empowerment. So this 28th generation Huna lineage that I teach from, the word Huna is not even the appropriate label. If you were going to ask me what would be the right word or the right label to call what it is that you're teaching, it would definitely be Ho'omanna, which is how do you as an individual become more empowered. And that's really what we're talking about here, how to increase our own empowerment. Well, one of the easiest ways is to understand the three basic energies. And we begin with where energy came from. I talked about this in the last webinar. So you're going to want to go back. You can email the office, Dr. Matt at nlp.com, and they will send you the link. No questions asked. Hey, here's the link for the first webinar. You'll get a copy of it. Click on it. You can watch the first one. I talked about the whole idea of the ancient cultures believed in energy, that everyone knew that energy was out there, and that science originally started off wanting to prove what the ancient teachings were talking about. Science originally wanted to help out. They wanted to go, yeah, there is energy in that rock over there. There's energy in that tree over there. And as they looked deeper and deeper, they didn't see any energy. And they made the mistake of thinking that they had the appropriate measuring devices. Unfortunately, they didn't. But initially, though, they found no energy. So what did they do? They said these ancient teachings are wrong. These ancient teachings are inaccurate. And we got a better measuring device and a better measuring device. And we got devices that could look into what's called the quantum. And lo and behold, you dig deep enough, and at the deepest level of everything is energy. Physics says everything is energy at this point. Physics, not quantum physics, just straight up Newtonian physics. Everything boils down to energy. Quantum physics says everything boils down to energy. Well, spirituality, since the very early ages, said everything is energy. If you want to do some more reading on this, two experts that are very helpful are Deepak Chopra, some of his original work, for example, Quantum Healing. I know that's back from the 80s, I believe. Great book. I mean, I read it when I was a teenager and just absolutely loved it, thought it was inspirational. He talks a lot about the mind-body connection and the most up-to-date information that deals with energy. And I know there's a few new books that are coming out that are talking about it even at a deeper level. You want to read Bruce Lipton, though, Biology of Belief. If you have not gotten to read Biology of Belief, that is an important book because it really explains the concept of energy and that energy affects your cells first and foremost, which means that if energy affects your cells first and foremost, it also affects the world around you. Everyone knows that energy is important. Not everyone understands it. You know, I think I used the example in the previous webinar. This young man came up to me in the training and said, I don't believe in any of this energy stuff, and he had a drink in his hand. And he took a sip and he said, you know, I don't mind your Aloha shirts, Dr. Matt, and, you know, your concepts are really neat, but that energy stuff is kind of woo-woo. It's too out there for me. I said, what are you drinking? It was a small little can that had the words 5-hour energy drink on it. And he goes, well, I'm drinking a 5-hour, and he goes, yeah, but this is real energy. And I laughed, and I said, just because you can see it, that means it's real? So in other words, you can't see oxygen, so therefore it must not be real. Or what else? You can't see the ozone layer, so therefore it must not be real. You know, some of these things that I don't see, I'm really grateful for. I don't see the waves going in between my Wi-Fi box and my computer that's allowing me to connect with you guys right now. I don't see them, but I sure as heck know if I hit the right button on my Mac that it's going to connect to the internet and I'm going to have a result. He got it. He got it pretty fast. He looked at me and he said, okay, I get it. He said, but how come everyone makes energy seem so woo-woo? I said, energy is just like energy from the sun. It's like solar rays. It's electricity. You know, I used to work on cars, and you can peel back a wire, and you see copper in there. You don't see the electricity, but you know if your battery's dead or not. I said, you know if you wake up in the morning and you don't have the energy to do the things that you want to do, you know that there's such a thing as energy. So here's the deal. I think we're all at a point now where we get that energy's real. Water's wet, the sky is blue, energy's real, and it affects you. It absolutely affects everything that you do in your life. And so let's now talk about where we left off and jump right into what we are talking about in this webinar. So in this webinar, we're talking, where we left off is with the whole idea of the three basic energies: being, doing, having. And I spent a lot of time on that. I had a couple of advanced students from Huna, students who have been with me for a few years now. And they emailed me afterwards and said that it was probably one of the most detailed and comprehensive explanations of be, do, have that they've ever heard me give out just to general public. And usually that type of explanation, we would talk about it at the upper levels of Huna. And so it was a great webinar. I mean, it's definitely one that we're going to link to at drmatt.com and make sure it's available for people, because these are the three basic energies according to physics, quantum physics, and spirituality. These are the three basic energies. And I explained where we spend most of our time. We spend most of our time in the having. Oh, I want to have the next iPhone. I want to have the next computer. I want to have the next car. And at some point people wake up and they go, yeah, okay, I had every iPhone, I had every Android, I had every car I wanted, and geez, it's just I'm not happy like everyone said that I would be. My mom, my dad, you know, Oprah, someone told me that if I just have X, Y, Z, I'll be happy. I think those of you that are on this webinar at this point get it, that it doesn't work that way. Most people at that point elevate to a level of doing. They begin to search, what am I meant to do? Obviously, I'm not gaining satisfaction in the having of these objects. Maybe I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing. Unfortunately, some people spend the rest of their life trying to figure out what to do. But here's the deal, folks. Energy starts with being. Energy needs to come into being to then transform and then create a completion. A building comes into a state of being, and once it does, it goes through a long phase of transformation until it's time to tear the building down. And that completion then ends the building. And yeah, in your life, it's birth, it's transformation, it's death. And these are the three basic energies. Physics, quantum physics, and spirituality talks about it. Where we get trapped is in the having and the doing. What some people elevate to a level of is a level of not just asking, what am I meant to do? Some people elevate to a level of, what's my purpose? Why am I here? And that's where I want to pick things up, because we spent a ton of time on Be, Do, Have. And I know a couple of you already messaged and said, this is my first webinar. Hey, if it's your first webinar with me, please forgive me for not introducing myself. Hi, I'm Dr. Matt James. I'm looking down the list, and there's some names here that I totally recognize, and a couple of you have already asked questions. Wow, this is my first webinar. Is it okay if I'm here? Yes, it's totally okay if you're here. That's a little bit of a catch-up. You will have some homework to do. I got a whole bunch of webinars out there already, and make sure you subscribe to my blog, because a lot of this has been written up in articles there, and you know that will help you out. I think we have a basic understanding of the Be, Do, Have, though. Let's talk about purpose. So many people talk about this idea of living a purposeful life. I'm writing a series of 3 books. And my first book was on Huna. My next book was on Find Your Purpose, Master Your Path. And the next book, which I just finished handling all the pictures for, it should be out about a month or so, is really going to be about integrating your shadow. Integrating and transforming the concept of your shadow. And it's the next of 3 books. And these 3 books are geared for individuals who want to find purpose in their life. Individuals who have been there, done that. They realize that there's something more going on, and they want to tap into what that is. And for those of you that have known me for a while, you all know I love the deeper issues. I love the depth of content, and I also like to simplify things. I grew up in this, you know, I started meditating at 5, and I would meet some people that would so complicate even a simple idea like meditation, and it would always confuse me. I've gotten to hang out with some amazingly enlightened individuals, and I have found that the more enlightened you become and the more empowered you become, the more you find that there's power in the simplicity. Simplicity doesn't mean silly. Simplicity doesn't mean I don't want to use the S word. I'll say it quietly, stupid, even though Skylar's not in the room. My 6-year-old, she doesn't like that word. No, simplicity doesn't mean like a simpleton. Simplicity means that there's energy in everything. Simplicity is that you split an atom. When you split an atom, you release so much energy, and the atom is the simplest building block of our material world. It doesn't take complexity to create that amount of energy. And you can harness the atom for positive, and you can harness the atom for negative. Well, I'm not here to debate what positive and negative is. I'm here to explain to you that just like harnessing the energy in an atom, you sometimes need to take things to simplicity. And so let me give you a really simple example. I used to weigh about 85 pounds more than I do now. And for those of you that have been at my workshops and seen that picture, that was a heavy weight that I carried. And that was something that I had to live with. And I went through different phases in my life of going on different diets, exercise routines. Okay, let's look at the be, do, have. Let me equate it to this. I'm going to link it right to purpose. Here we go. So I started off wanting to have a certain weight. Oh, I just want this weight back. You know, I was an athlete in high school. I just want to get back to that weight and have that weight. Didn't work. If I have the right diet, then I'll be able to have it. And didn't work. It worked for a while, but you lose the energy, you lose the momentum, you lose the mana. And so then one day I woke up and I said, maybe I'm not doing the right exercise routine. If I would do the right exercise routine, maybe that would make a difference. So I did an exercise routine. I got tired of it. I got burnt. I use the word burnt out. You see, here's my thinking on burnout. Burnout occurs when you are not living your purpose in that area of your life, or you're not getting an adequate amount of energy back for what you're putting in. Let me say that again. Burnout occurs when you are not living purpose, you're not having a purpose in that area of your life, you burn out, or burnout occurs when you're not getting an equal amount of energy back for the energy you're putting in. What do I mean by that? If you are busting your butt at work and you're not getting compensated sufficiently, you'll burn out. If in your relationship I wish I could see you guys right now and ask for a show of hands, because here's what I would say. How many of you have ever been in a relationship where you gave 100% and the person you were with did not? How did that work out for you? It doesn't work. It sucks. Yeah, I got no other way to say it, because you burn out. Now, you might be in a relationship or a career where you're getting a good compensation, but if you're not living your purpose, you burn out. Oh, I had an uncle that worked for a huge company making $500,000 a year, and this was back in the late 80s. Late 80s, early 90s, where $500,000 was a lot more money than $500,000 is right now. You know, it'd be like making $1 million a year now. I don't actually know the inflation ratios, but anyway, never mind. He was making a ton of money, and he up and quit in one day. My mom flipped out. My mom was like, how can you do that? And you know what he said? He said, because it's not in alignment with who I am. Wow, that's not in alignment with who I am. That's purpose. See, that's what causes burnout. So where does purpose come from? Purpose comes from being. Listen carefully now. Purpose comes from being. So being is your ability to get into a purposeful state, because then you know, here is what the statement of being is. And when you know who you are meant to be, what you are meant to do naturally flows from that. And then when you're doing what you're meant to be doing, the things that you have are pono. The Hawaiian word pono means right. You know, David, you guys, by the way, you guys are totally welcome to ask questions. Chelsea, who is a part of the Empowerment Partnership team, she's here. She'll answer the ones that she can answer, and she'll leave some for me. David, I just checked your question. My next slide is actually talking about that. My next slide is talking about how do you break the pattern and get to the starting things. I'll get there in just a second. And then if it doesn't answer your question, maybe you'll be able to answer a deeper question. So you guys are totally welcome to ask questions at any time. I'll do my best to get to them. as soon as possible. But David, I saw that one and I thought it would be good to point out. I'll get there in just a second. So listen carefully. Make sure you're following along with me. Being or starting is the energy of purpose. So when you go after a goal and start off by defining what you want to have, you don't have purpose. When you go after a goal defining what it is that you're meant to do, like in a career, you still don't have purpose. Your purpose comes from being. And there's a very simple formula that I'm about to share with you that will help you get to being. I first want to tell you the story of me being 85 pounds overweight. So I started off with, if I just have this level of weight, and let's use the scale for example, because that was a classic one. Oh, if I just weighed this amount, if I just have that as a weight, I will be satisfied with my weight. Well, guess what happened? Every time I got to that weight, you guessed it, I ballooned back up again. And that's called yo-yo dieting. That's called getting your result and bouncing back. I don't care what you call it. But all of a sudden I woke up one day and I said, God, maybe I'm not doing the right exercise routine. Maybe I'm not doing the right diet. And I went on the depth of research, and I did trade with a bodybuilder, a policeman, a fireman. I worked with a couple of Olympic athletes, and I did NLP modeling on everything that you need to do to be healthy. This is the mid-90s. And oh my goodness, I was in the gym. I was getting phenomenal results. I mean, I was having people in the gym asking me for tips, and they were way more fit than I was, because I would go in there with a level of intensity and ability to handle things, and my weight ballooned back up again because I got burnt out. I got bored of it. I had no energy, no purpose. And then one day I woke up and I said, why do I want to be healthy? The Hawaiian word mana. Mana is energy, and in English, it's defined by your why. You see, when someone comes up to me and they say, I don't know what I'm meant to do, I'll ask them sometimes, what are you doing right now? Oh, I'm an accountant. Why are you doing that? To pay the bills. No, that's a having. Why are you doing that? Because I have met accountants where they are living their purpose. And I'll ask them, why are you an accountant? And they will answer, and their answer sounds so spiritual. And you know, I'm not an accountant. I have met people for whom their answer of what they do, it sounds spiritual. It sounds like they are connected to purpose. And here's the deal. Here is the simple formula that will help you out with this. And that is finding your purpose. Now take a look at the screen. I want to explain what this is. When a person begins with the having, they don't tend to get the result. When the person begins with the doing, maybe you get the result on either of those. You don't tend to have a connection with purpose. The very first thing that you need to do is you need to start off with a simple, what are we talking about? Okay, that's that first what. We're talking about health and fitness. I'm using an example of health and fitness. You can plug the word career in there. You can plug the word relationship in there. You can plug the word personal growth, spirituality. You can plug the word life in there. It would be easier for you to start off with a very basic area like health and fitness, relationship, or career, as opposed to tackling life. But hold on now. Listen carefully. So health and fitness. What you first do is define that second what. So it says what. That's health and fitness. The next word in there is why. I'll explain what the why is in a moment. What you actually begin with after writing down health and fitness is about a page of your definition of what health and fitness is. Let me say that again now. You start off with about a page of you spelling out what health and fitness is. This was transformational for me because I realized that I had done this in my career. And I mean, I've been working at the Empowerment Partnership now for 21 years. Yeah, 92. 21 years. I've been running it for 16. I've owned it now for 11. And I'm on my way to Toronto on Monday to go teach a practitioner training of content that I've been teaching and living for the past 30 some odd years. And I am just absolutely thrilled to be doing it because doing it flows from my purpose of who I am. So who I am dictates what I do. So now, The problem that most people encounter when they start something like health and fitness is they set out with all of their goal being about having a certain weight, doing a certain exercise, impressing so-and-so. Oh, I want to look good for my students. Oh, I want to be healthy for my kids. Those are all beautiful goals. I have kids. I have students. Yes, it's great. Oh, I want to be around for my wife. These are all beautiful goals, and you got to first start off defining what is health and fitness to you. Not what is health and fitness for GQ magazine, not what does that TV show tell you health and fitness should be. Literally, listen carefully now. What is your definition of health and fitness? And I wrote about a page, and on that page I went back and looked at it and I went, wow, no wonder why the workout programs that I was doing had no result, because the workout programs that I was doing, that the infomercial told me would help me, that my workout buddy said would help me, that my mom, my best friend, my partner, that they said that workout program is the one for you. The reason why it wasn't is because that workout program is designed to get results that had nothing to do with what health and fitness was for me. See, when you define what health and fitness is for you, for example, you then have the ability to set the parameters of your path, of your life. Why that's so important is because when you know what your definition of health and fitness is, it tends to make your goals more realistic. It tends to make your goals more in alignment with your purpose. Because if everything that I write about what health and fitness is to me has nothing to do with having biceps a certain size so that I look a certain way in front of a group of people, then maybe I don't need to go into the gym. Maybe I don't need to lift heavy weights, because that's not what is a part of my path of health and fitness. I sometimes have people come up to me in the trainings and they say, I want to make $1 million a year. Well, one of my easiest tests to figure out, is that possible? I'll ask them, in the industry that you are in, is it possible for you to make $1 million a year? And if they say no, the person who's making the most in my industry is making about $100,000, they have one of two options: to change their goal or get into a different industry. Now, how do you reconcile those things? You got to go back to purpose, because if you're only focusing on the bottom line, any company that I've coached or consulted with, the successful ones, they're not focusing on money. They're focusing on generating and producing an amazing product or service which benefits their employees, which benefits their consumers, and in turn, they benefit from that. They want to produce the best product possible, and they will be successful. I have rarely met a company that is totally bottom line focused. Does someone in the company have to focus on the bottom line? Absolutely. I've gotten to work with huge Fortune 100 companies. We've gone into Procter & Gamble, Nintendo. I mean, on the East Coast, I got to work with a biodiesel plant. All of these companies that I worked with, of course, there is someone in there that's looking at the profit margins. And all things being equal, it's how can we produce an amazing product, and if we do that, then we will be able to make money. They have a purpose for being in business. We as individuals don't. We tend to teach our kids the opposite direction. In ancient times here in Hawaii, you would see a child, and the person who could look into the child and see what their energy was would recognize that the child was meant to be a certain person. And then they would teach that child their entire life how to become that individual, so that when they were old enough to begin to do the work, that it would flow from who they were. And that when they would have certain things that flowed from their doing, they found pure joy and enjoyment with that. In my career, so at the top there where it says what career, on my what, I have what a happy, and I love the word happy. You guys, oh, I forgot to write the word happy on that slide. A page of your definition of what it would mean to be happy with your health and fitness, to be happy with your career, to find joy in it, whatever word you want to use. I'm not hung up on the word. When I wrote down what it would mean for me to be happy in my career, I wrote all these things down about teaching, about the depth of content, about the information, about having people grow and evolve beyond anything I could have become, my students standing on my shoulders, that this information lives beyond me, all of these things, and nothing in there did it have to do with, I want to be in front of 10,000 people. It had nothing to do with my purpose. And so once I got done writing that page of what it meant for me, it began to shape and guide how we market and advertise our seminars and trainings. And last summer, I was teaching at the Radisson Newport Beach, and I was teaching the next group of trainers to go out there. And I tell you, I think maybe we had, I don't know what, 20 people there in the room? Max, maybe less than that. That sounds about right, though. Next door was one of my students who had gone through practitioner, master practitioner, trainer's training. She's an amazing presenter. Her name's Nurka. She had 300 people in the room. A person came up to me and said, she's got 300 people. And I smiled and I went, yeah, I know. That's awesome. And they went, but you only have, I said, hold on just a minute. She's living her purpose. I'm living mine. See, when you're living your purpose, you don't go looking at someone else and go, oh, I wish I had biceps that size. Because if that's not what it is, if that's not what health and fitness is for you, you don't care about that. Oh, I wish I had 10,000 people in my training. I don't want 10,000 people in my training. That's not what my career is for me. See, my purpose in career is specifically geared for what I want, what will make me happy. I hope that makes sense. I have people all the time that say you should hire another trainer. Do you know how hard it is to get trainers that are on the same page with their purpose? Man, most of the trainers that I have hired and I've worked with, I tell you what, I love them. They're great individuals, and they would say to me, oh, I want to be in front of 10,000 people. And I would smile and say, but that can't be your goal. Because as soon as you get in front of 10,000 people and the thrill is gone. Because look, I've taught in front of 10,000 people and it did nothing for me. And I've taught people who have taught in front of tens of thousands of people. And each and every one of them, if they were on this webinar and I turned their microphone on, here's what they would say. After a while, you get used to it and the thrill is gone. So you better have a deeper reason as to why. Listen to the word, why you're doing what you're doing. Once you've written down that page of what your definition of health and fitness, what your definition of relationship, then you ask yourself the most important question. That's the why. Why do you want that? You ask that after that second what right there. That why. The reason why I put the why at the top is because that's where it belongs from an energy perspective. But you can't actually define why until you have explained what health and fitness is to you, what career is to you, what relationship is to you. Then you look at that page. And listen carefully now. This is such a beautiful moment. You ask yourself, why do I want this? And you just let it all flow out onto the paper. You just allow yourself to type, to write it down, to let that information pour out. Why is your mana? Why is your energy? Why is your ability to tap into that connection and allow it to flow down to what it is that you're about to do? So now you have your what, you have your why, and there's no judgment. I mean, really, I'm not going to look at your paper. No one else is. This is for you. You have to define why you want this. Once you have your why and your what, the next step, that's the fourth bullet point there, would be for you to write a SMART goal. Well, here's the really cool thing. I did a previous webinar on SMART goaling, how to write a SMART goal so that you are able to achieve what you want to achieve. I may have even said in there at some point I got to talk about purpose, or maybe I did in there, but it was a brief overview. And if there's repeat information, you will enjoy it. I am very positive. So what you want to do is, if you haven't listened to that webinar, go listen to the SMART Goal webinar. That teaches you how to then write the goal. The writing of that goal then dictates and determines your action. So this is a simple way of finding purpose. This is a simple way of finding purpose. And the easiest thing that you can do is begin to practice it in an area that is already kind of going well, so you can get a feel for how this works. So you can get a sense of how it works and see how easy it is to begin to do it. If you jump right into an area that's not doing well, you sometimes have mixed results. You could do it in an area that's going really well, but probably an area that's going really well at some deeper level, you already know your purpose. So my humble suggestion is that you pick an area that is okay, not bad, not good, just kind of okay, and tap into what your purpose is. That will then allow you to, the Hawaiian word is imua, to move forward and begin to tap into that energy. Now, I see that a couple of questions are up there. Let me just see if they're appropriate to handle now. And you guys can ask questions at any time, and I will come back to questions at the end. You know what, let me cover these because I might be able to answer a little bit of that with the next couple of slides. So let's talk a little bit more. From a Huna perspective, and this is true in almost every teaching around the planet, you have the concept of 3 minds, that's the 3 selves, and the 4 bodies. I want to talk about how purpose now relates to energy. So you have higher self, which Jung called the collective, which some people call their spirit or higher consciousness. You have the conscious mind, that's what the letters CM stand for. And you have the unconscious mind, UCM, which some people refer to as the subconscious. We use either terminology. Then from a Huna perspective, they also had this idea of mind, body, spirit. However, in Huna, they separated out the concept of the mind and the emotions. So you had spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. Now let's take a look specifically at the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Papa Bray, the person who taught my father Ho'omana, what it is that I'm sharing with you, he explained that there are 2 major lessons in life. The first lesson is the lesson of mastery. That is taking the energy from the spiritual aspect of who you are, having it trickle down into the mental, down into the emotional, and then into the physical. That is the lesson of mastery. Typical areas where you experience the lesson of mastery are health and fitness, because that's you bringing energy down to change your physical body. Career, that's you bringing energy down to create money, needs, and resources. Relationships, in the early part of a relationship, getting into a relationship, developing a relationship, that's a trickle down of the energy from the spiritual to the mental to the emotional to the physical. Papa Bray said that there's another major lesson in life, and that is the lesson of life. Being able to rise up from that level of spirit and, rise up from that level of the physical and connect back to spirit. What I'm going to talk about right now is the lesson of mastery. I'm going to focus right now on the lesson of mastery because that's what we're talking about here. What the lesson of mastery says is that you take the energy, universal energy, it trickles down through the mental aspect of who you are, it connects to the emotional aspect of who you are, and then flows down into the physical. What most people do is they disconnect the energy from the physical. So now you have your connection to purpose. You have your reason why you're doing it. Remember, why is energy. And energy flows from that bubble all the way at the top that says spiritual. And if you don't like the word spiritual, that's okay. Just put the word energy up there instead. Mana, chi, ki, energy, whatever you want to call it. Well, here's how things work. Energy comes in, you have a spark, an idea, a flash, an inspiration, and it begins to get the energy moving in the mental. It's a trickle-down effect. The mind begins to think, it begins to process, it begins to, wow. What's an example? I want to buy a new car. Oh, you just all of a sudden, a flash, an inspiration. The energy then builds up in the mental aspect of who you are. Sorry, just taking a sip of water. So the energy builds up in the mental aspect of who you are. This is where you spend a lot of time thinking things through, going online, doing research, talking to your friends, looking at other cars around. You have what's called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is a process inside that once you begin to think about a new car, you tend to see that car all around you. I think all of you have had that experience. A classic example is if I say to you, I bet you've never noticed how many gray or silver cars are in your area that you live in. They were always there. You always saw them, but probably the next time that you go out, if you remember that I just said that, you're going to see more of them. It's because it's in your awareness now. The energy has trickled into the mental aspect. Here's where people build up mental energy. Now, once that occurs, the energy naturally flows into the emotional aspect of who you are. Once the energy is in the emotional aspect, two things happen. One, you begin to build up motivation. You begin to build up excitement, anticipation. You begin to build up positive emotions. The second thing that occurs is that any negative emotions that you haven't resolved, they tend to come up to the surface as well. Negative emotions, when they come up to the surface, you know, I always do an offer at the end, and again, I like to give back for you guys being here. I'm going to recommend, if you haven't done any release work, if you haven't gotten to go to one of our NLP trainings, that you take the opportunity to get one of the CD sets, because they have techniques to help you release negative emotions. Some of them validated and verified now by licensed professionals and clinical and academic studies. Amazing techniques. Because when the energy is in the emotional, what you have to do, there's three things you have to do. The first one is you have to cultivate the positive emotions. You have to cultivate the motivation. You have to build it up. The second thing you have to do is you have to release the negative emotions. You have to let go of the baggage. You need to have a tool to help you overcome the things that would prevent you from taking action. And the third thing that you need to do is you need to trust your gut. Because the emotional aspect of who you are is your gut reaction. And there's a certain point where your gut says, go. And in that moment, you have to trust your gut and go with it. And no, things don't always work out exactly the way that you would imagine. However, there have been times in my life where I've gone against my gut. And those are some of the times where I've actually regretted some of my decisions. Usually when I go with my gut, it's the right decision. I may not know in the moment why it's the right decision, but eventually that learning comes through. What most people do, unsuccessful people, most unsuccessful people build up the energy, they think things through, they get motivated, they're right there, they're thinking about it, they're like, oh, I got to take action, and they go, oh, I'll wait and see. And they pull that energy all the way back up to the mental. Or the one that's even worse is, wait, I need to think about it a little bit more. But thinking about it is mental. At the point where your gut is screaming, this is what you should be doing, especially when you know your purpose, what you are meant to do is take that action, that energy, and connect it with the physical and do something in the physical realm. I said this on a previous webinar. I'm going to repeat myself right now because it's very important. Action is so much more powerful than just words and ideas. When you take action, it tells the universe you're serious about something. When you take action, the universe responds. When you take action that flows from positive emotions, let's work our way back up. When you take action that flows from positive emotions and a well-thought-out plan and a spiritual approach that is connected to your purpose, you have such a powerful expression on the physical realm. It is absolutely amazing. Let me say that again now. When you have energy flowing from the spiritual aspect of who you are, that is aligned with your purpose, and that energy has gone through the mental and you have a well-thought-out goal, a smart goal that you have written, when you take that energy through the emotional and you release the baggage and you cultivate the motivation, when that energy flows down into the physical, like what Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about in Biology of Belief, it is such a beautiful expression of who and what you are. You know, Krish, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, you said when one works towards their purpose and are not able to achieve it, how do you get there? My heart goes out to you if you really are working for your purpose and you haven't been able to get there. My heart goes out to you because yeah, I've had areas in my life where things weren't working out the way that I would have wanted them to. I've been there on the path, face down, in the dirt. I wrote a post on my Facebook page about that today because we all go through times in our life, and I was inspired to talk about that today, about this idea that sometimes in life, yeah, you're face down on the path. You think you're living your purpose. I've had that happen to me recently and in the past. Those type of things can happen. You know, that's when you really learn your foundation. That's when you really learn what is at the deepest level. I don't know who said it, but it's a powerful saying. And that those times in your life where you're face down on the path, that's not where you build character. That's where you reveal the character that is already there. That's where you reveal your foundation. Yeah? From a ho'omanna, from what I teach, from that perspective, it's your foundation. And here's what I can say to you, is that in those moments where I'm face down on the path, I step back and I go back to what I'm sharing with you guys. What I'm sharing with you is what I put into practice in my life that has helped me to become who I am today. It's what has helped some of my top students. I take feedback all the time from students on how this works for them and constantly refining things. And what I've had to do when this has happened to me, Chris, is that I've had to take a step back and go, okay, did I write a SMART goal? Did I take appropriate action? Was I trusting my gut? I mean, I backtrack everything that I did to make sure that the energy that was flowing in flowed from my purpose, that the energy that flowed from my purpose flowed through the mental aspect, and that I was able to have a well-formulated goal, that I let go of any negative emotions that I needed to, that I had cultivated the positive emotions, and that I took appropriate action. And then sometimes I learn lessons that teach me how to do things better the next time. And that's the best you can do. There's a saying in NLP that is, you're doing the best you can with the resources you have. You know, I've gained resources by going flat on my face on the path. And sometimes that resource is just the lesson of what to look for on the path. And so here's the deal. Take these things that you've learned here and put them into practice in your life. Get that energy flowing from the spiritual to the mental to the emotional to the physical, and take action when appropriate. And see if that can help you out. Now, we have about 8 minutes left because you guys gave me feedback on one of my previous webinars when I did a poll. Hey, Dr. Matt, keep it to an hour. I can talk forever. That's my problem. So luckily, I have a job that works out for me. So my career allows me to talk forever, but I limit myself to an hour. So here's what I want to do. I want to check to see if there are any more questions. And so if you have any more questions, you can go ahead and do them now. And what I'd like to do is also give you some tips as you guys are formulating any questions that you have. So here are some tips. So this is a summary. You want to take some time to link what you have and what you do to your purpose. So you want to take some time to link what you already have and what you're doing to your purpose. That's your being. You also want to practice trusting your gut, and you also want to presuppose that there is an energy connection to the physical. Presuppose that the energy connection to the physical is flowing already from the spiritual. So to summarize, you already have that connection. You have a wealth of energy above your head just waiting to trickle down and flow into you and assist you on your path. That's given. Physics, quantum physics, spirituality says you have enough energy to be who you want to be, do what you want to do, and have what you want to have. You need to learn how to trust it. You need to learn how to flow it. The way to do that is to spend some time writing out what your purpose is, to learn your being, and begin to learn to trust your gut. Now let me go through some questions. Let's see. The first question that I got here is, are there any new things being taught in your trainings? Oh, absolutely. We're always adding new things all the time to our practitioner training. And the one in Toronto, we're going to be integrating a lot more Huna into the training. We're going to be integrating a lot more energy work into the training. We're going to be, I got some amazing feedback on the last series of events that I ran that, yeah, these trainings need to become about NLP and energy. And these two ideas and concepts have to be brought together. I love NLP. I teach neuro-linguistic programming. It's something I'm going to continue to teach. I mean, heck, we have NLP.com, so I ought to keep teaching it. And NLP came from the 70s when it wasn't as well accepted to talk about energy. I used to teach in the 90s and people didn't want to hear about energy. Well, here's the deal. We got to talk about energy now, and we got to put it into everything that we're discussing. So we've definitely gone through, added some key concepts and ideas, and we're going to roll it out beginning in these next series of trainings. I think next week I'm going to Toronto, and the week after that I'm in Miami. If you know anyone that wants to be there, we are so thankful. Number one source of new business for us is word of mouth. Let someone know about our webinars. If you know someone in Toronto, Miami, help me get the word out, because our practitioner training, a full certification is only 97 bucks. So you can get there for such an affordable amount now. And it is a full certification, and you get an amazing amount of wealth of information and content and follow-up support. So if you haven't gotten a chance to do it yet, please jump in. I hope you know I'm passionate about this stuff. The next question that I got had to do with our doctorate in clinical hypnotherapy program. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. The question is, did you actually end up relaunching it? I hope you are on our database. Let me jump to the next page. You've got to go to nlp.com and make sure that we have your email address. You need to email the office and say, put me on the mailing list. Yeah, we relaunched it. We already have a group of students, and oh, they are loving it. We have relaunched our doctorate in clinical hypnotherapy program. You can become a doctor, and in a field of such an amazing set of tools and techniques, NLP, hypnosis, energy work, wow. So yeah, we have relaunched it, and I think our next term is coming up in June, and we're almost filling up the June term. So yes, we did. Please do contact our office. The email address is right there. Contact our office if you need to. Let me see if I can get to a couple more questions as we're running out of time. Are you planning on having a training in the San Francisco area? Krish, absolutely. Is San Jose close enough for you? I hope it is. I know that's not San Francisco. Please forgive me. San Francisco is a beautiful city. My mom used to work in off of Mason Street. I can't believe I remember that. That's from when I was a teenager. That's the 80s. Anyway, oh yeah, I loved walking through the streets of San Francisco. One of my favorite cities to walk around. August 22nd, we are in San Jose. August 22nd, we are in San Jose. We have not released the dates yet. I'm pretty sure we have the hotel. And so please mark your calendar. We're going to be there August 22nd and in San Diego the weekend after that. And so that's where we're heading at the end of August. So we'll absolutely be there. And let's see. Oh, here, one more. I want to wrap up with this question because this is a good one. Yeah, Julia, what happens when you somehow have lost your purpose and you feel lost? You know, I was so fortunate in my life that on times where I lost my purpose, someone was there to help kind of give me a gentle, swift kick in the backside. I remember, and granted, I know I'm still young. I know I'm in my early 40s, and yeah, I started meditating at such an early age. I did NLP at 13, became a master practitioner from Richard Bandler before I even entered high school, and then I became a teenager. Like everyone becoming a teenager, I got into my early 20s, and something woke me up. And I sat there and said, there's got to be more to life than this. And I was very fortunate that my father sent me to go live with Uncle George Naope for a summer, and a guiding light here in Hawaii, cultural expert. And he gave me a couple swift kicks in the butt, got me back on my path. And then there are people like David Shepard, who, a friend of mine first, and then someone I learned from, and then someone who really said, come on, you can't just sit around at the back of the room. You know, this is in your family. What are you going to teach? Get your butt on stage. He's the one that was instrumental in getting me up on stage for my very first time after learning how to become a trainer. Julia, sometimes we have these people that come along and hold our hand. Sometimes they kick us in the butt. Hopefully this webinar, these teachings, pick an area of your life and tap back into the purpose in that area, and then pick another area, and then pick another area. I know sometimes we want the purpose of our whole life, and I know people want that, and I want that. And start off with an area. Start off with an area and get back in touch with your purpose in that area. Then another area, and then another area. I used to teach the hypnosis weekends, and I would talk about self-hypnosis and the knee-jerk reflex when you learn self-hypnosis and how powerful it is to tap into the unconscious is to start doing self-hypnosis sessions with yourself on everything. I want to have $1 million in the bank. I want abs of steel. I want the perfect relationship. Oh, I want to enlighten in about 5 minutes and be a doctor, and your unconscious mind gets overwhelmed. And I used to gently look out at people and say, hey, take it easy. Take a breath. Pick an area. Pick one area. Focus on that. Get the results in that area. Pick the next area. And so I'm going to tell you that here. Pick an area that you can get back in touch with your purpose. Find that purpose in that area. Begin living your purpose in that area. and then tackle the next one, the next one. After a while, you've tackled them all. Look at all your purposes. I bet you what? I bet you they're all similar. And I bet you can find the common thread like I did, and that will give you an idea of your purpose in life. I hope that helps. And it's already 5 o'clock here in Hawaii. For those of you in California, thank you so much for joining at 8. And man, for those of you on the East Coast, that's late over there for me. I would be asleep by now. If you're on the other side of the planet, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. Make sure that you connect up on Facebook if you haven't. And I'm going to keep this really brief because I know some of you want to get going. I always love to give back. And this is for you guys. You've taken the time to be here. I want to help you out on your path. During the first Huna webinar that we did, there was the Ho'oponopono download. This one is the second version of Ho'oponopono. So this is Ho'oponopono 2. We're giving away the shop now at this point. I'm going to run out of things to give away pretty soon, I think. So anyway, you get to download this. This is Ho'oponopono 2. It's a different version. It helps you out with one individual in your life. This is for you guys. It's free. It's your connection to a technique to release. And the Huna introduction, that's a product. It's normally a couple $100. You get it for $97. There's a link on our website. You can follow that link. That allows you the opportunity to purchase it. I think you get almost immediate access to download it and begin to work with it. And on the CD set, there's a guided release of negative emotions, anger, sadness, fear, guilt. That will help you clear out the baggage. And it was a wonderful training that I recorded in Ottawa, and I had such an amazing time there. So for those of you that are able to do that, if not, hey, make it to one of our trainings. That's another opportunity for you. Let me give you the link, and then we'll wrap up class. The link for you guys to go to is nlp.com, Huna Part 2 gift. That's our gift to you, Huna Part 2 gift. And I always love to wrap up our class with a couple of quick sayings. I'm just going to give you 2 tonight. The first one is malama pono. The Hawaiian word malama pono means to stand in righteousness. Another way of looking at it is malama means to cherish, and pono is to feel right with yourself. When you're living your purpose, you cherish that feeling of feeling right. So I always love to wrap up the class by saying malama pono. And then the last one is a hui ho. In Hawaii, the word aloha was hello and goodbye, because if you shared something like this, you couldn't say goodbye because you knew at some point your paths would cross again. And that's what a hui ho means. A hui, we are the hui. Hui is a group. Ho means to repeat. So thank you so very much for being here. A hui ho. Class dismissed. Love you all. And I look forward to the next webinar, which we will send you an email on. Take care. Bye-bye.